I know, they were commenting on how the roots. You was in the roof looks bigger. What do you think?
You did a great job.
I just looked serious.
Did you take vacation? Huh? I'm in June. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I know, I'm slow last week.
Refresh.
All right, good morning, everybody. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I will note for the record that all board members are present. Good morning to all of you. And thank you for being here. We will begin with our agenda of the administrative portion. I will move to acknowledge Secretary of State Directive 2023-15. The information is provided in our board packet. And is there a second?
Second,
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any unreadiness?
just a question.
Please.
So that directive indicated our review is to have been completed by yesterday, right? And a certification? Or in fact, that's what it said. Did we do that?
Yeah, that is, so, yes,
Okay,
and so we received one part petition with one signature. And then when we received it, we reviewed it. The person actually lives in Elyria, so we kicked it to
Oh,
Lorraine County. So we have zero reports.
Okay. there we go.
Zero.
Good information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye? The ayes have it, it is so ordered. Thank you. Registration, we'll call upon Mr. Hassani Wheat to come forth.
Okay.
Is Mr. Mikhail Alterman present? Mr. Alterman is not present. We'll also ask, is Brianna Alexander present? Or counsel representing Brianna Alexander? Quentin Lyons, is Mr. Lyons present or counsel representing Mr. Lyons? Is Carlos Portalatin present or counsel representing Carlos? Gerald Zoller. Gerald present? Is counsel here representing? Hearing none, then Mr. Wheat, we'll turn it over to you to tee this up for Brianna Alexander. And if you would just state for the record your name and your position, sir.
Hassani Wheat, registration manager. Good morning.
Good morning.
You should have before you a Form 257, challenge of the right to vote and correction of registration list that was submitted by Mr. Mikhail Alterman on July 10th, 2023. Mr. Alterman, a registered voter in Cuyahoga County, is challenging the voter residency of Ms. Brianna Ole Alexander. Mr. Alterman noted in his challenge that Ms. Alexander is registered at an office building. Ms. Alexander is currently registered at 23600 Mercantile Road, Suite 110 in Beechwood, Ohio. The voter registration database shows that Ms. Alexander has been registered at the 23600 Mercantile Road, Suite 110 address since June 14th, 2023. The voter registration database also shows that Ms. Alexander voted provisionally at the 23600 Mercantile Road, Suite 110 address in August 8th, 2023 special election. Upon consultation with the CCDOE's Senior Geographic Information Systems Technician, it is determined that 23600 Mercantile Road, Suite 110 is a commercial property.
Thank you, sir. Board members?
Well, I mean, clearly that's commercial property, not her residence, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that we would uphold the challenge, and given the fact that in her case, compared to these others that we're going to consider, she actually voted as the others did not. It would be my suggestion that, this be referred over to the integrity office or, I think that's how we're proceeding. If there's some potential irregularity or conduct
Right.
that's prohibited, then that be referred down to the Secretary of State, to the Integrity Office, but I may have a different view about the other folks who did not vote, although it seems like they would just be canceled, their
I
registration.
think so.
Maybe there should be some letter going out to
Oh,
them to
yes.
just remind them, I mean, you can't. I mean, you may have your business at one of these addresses, but you cannot, that's not your residence and you cannot vote from there. So I mean, that's just my view of how I interpret these agenda items 2 through 5.
Sure. Other board members?
I agree with your position.
So the challenge would, in my view, be upheld for all of them. I mean, I know we're gonna handle each of them separately, probably, Mr. Chair. Sure. Sorry, I didn't mean not rushing through this at all, but it just,
And she voted provisional.
And she did vote provisionally in August.
She voted provisional.
oh, so then that impacts our item 6.
Yes, so I would ask Director Bellotti to give us the implications of that.
Sure. So you are all correct in that Ms. Alexander is the only of these individuals who did vote in this election. It was by provisional ballot, because when we did get this challenge and it was in proximity to the election, we marked all the records as must vote provisional for this election, and she actually did exercise that. So what we have is, we do have her provisional envelope downstairs. It is isolated, and depending on what would happen with how the vote decides on this today, we are prepared when we do get to assigning presents the provisional report. We have it where he can present with her ballot being okay, and or with the registration being canceled. We also have a version where then it would be an invalid provisional. We would not count it for this election, and we would then certify those numbers. So we are prepared either way. We have reports reflecting either that. And I think it makes sense that if her registration is canceled, then that would reasonably lead to the provisional ballot being determined invalid. Because really, she at that point got registered. It would have been registered.
I do have a question for council, and this is just counterintuitive and maybe me, overanalyzing me, that someone could make an argument that they sleep at their commercial location. I mean, I've known some small business folks that, solo practitioners that, they rent a storefront or, a place, and it's technically zone commercial, but they sleep there and would make the argument that that's their residence. Do we have a prohibition that commercial property is in fact non-residential, therefore you cannot use that as a residence for purposes of voting? I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate, but somebody could make that argument. Whether that holds water or not, any thoughts about that?
Yes, I'm not aware of any law that says that a commercial structure or something that appears to be a business operation would preclude anyone from living there, other than local zoning laws or code, or it could be illegal for other purposes, but for voting purposes, it's the person's habitation, which isn't defined based on the physical attributes of the building, but whether or not they use it for living purposes.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point. I mean, maybe
But
somebody could make
But
that
I think
argument.
zoning laws though prohibit it from being a legal residence, so under, because, municipal ordinances, there are mixed property uses where people can. Have both, and they would be designated as such, or you do have people who have their businesses in their home. In some cities that's legal, but for purposes of, I think if somebody's designated commercial property. Legally, that person can't live there. My understanding, but under local ordinances.
Yeah, and I don't know what the local ordinances are in this
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
but I think I would fall back on the standard and the burden of proof. If clear and convincing evidence that this is a commercial structure,
Yeah.
doesn't seem like that would be a habitation. I think the board needs to weigh the facts and make a determination.
Oh, I would also think if that was the case for Ms. Alexander, she may be here today to tell us that, oh yeah, I sleep in the back room of the office or something, but without any other information.
You have to weigh it, yeah.
We gotta wait.
All right, Mr. Reed, anything else you want to add to this?
No.
All right, well then I will move to cancel the registration of Brianna Follett Alexander.
To uphold the
And
challenge.
to uphold the challenge, yes, to uphold it. I move to uphold the challenge
Right,
to Brianna's Alexander's registration.
We were challenging her voter
Her voter,
residency and then, okay,
Correct.
right.
Yes, is that correct?
I'm just saying, so the challenge is as to her voter residency. and
Voter
then-
voter residency, yes.
So,
right.
As outlined in page 2, challenging the voter residency of Brianna Alexander.
second,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah, I don't know, you would want a friendly amendment in addition and refer to public integrity,
yeah, can we?
oh,
or is that a
we do it all in
separate
one
motion?
motion.
And refer this to the Secretary of State's Public Integrity Division.
Given her vote,
Give
that's the address.
Give her a vote at this address.
Yeah, I would amend it to that if that's.
And given the friendly amendment to the motion to uphold the challenge of her voter residency to cancel her registration, I will second that motion.
Yes, it's our court reporter. Great on
Yes.
verbiage. Okay, thank you. Properly before us, any other discussion on the motion?
No.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, thank you. Mr.
Mr.
Weed,
Chair.
yes, sir.
Do we have to, do we need motion to her provisional ballot or?
We're gonna deal with that
Is that
as,
it?
we just that separate motion?
probably, would we deal with that under item 6, maybe?
Yeah, I think we would deal with that
Okay,
in 6.
okay,
Yes,
all right, perfect. Okay.
thank you. Mr. Weed?
You should have before you a Form 257, challenge of the right to vote and correction of registration lists that was submitted by Mr. Mikhail Alterman on July 10th, 2023. Mr. Alterman, a registered voter in Cuyahoga County, is challenging the voter residency of Mr. Quentin William Lyons. Mr. Alterman noted in his challenge that Mr. Lyons is registered at a hotel building, more specifically, the Residence Inn by Marriott. Mr. Lyons is currently registered at 3628 Park East Drive in Beechwood, Ohio. Voter registration database shows that Mr. Lyons has been registered at the 3628 Park East Drive address since May 26, 2022, when he moved from his previous address of 18809 Harlan Drive in Maple Heights. The voter registration database also shows that Mr. Lyons has never voted at 3628 Park East Drive address in Beechwood. Although he was eligible to vote in 3 elections since the August 2nd, 2022 primary election. Mr. Lyons did not vote in the August 8th, 2023 special election. Upon consultation with the CCBOE's Senior Geographic Information Systems Technician, it is determined that 3628 Park East Drive is indeed the Residence Inn by Marriott.
So, I'll raise the same sort of devil's advocate. I mean, even if this is a residence inn, could somebody have temporary residence at a residence inn, although it's deemed a commercial? I'm just saying, just raising the issue, maybe someone's moved, this person's moved from their Maple Heights or Beechwood, the Maple Heights address, and I don't know, for whatever reason, this becomes, it's not fixed, though, permanent, I guess, so I guess that defeats. I'm just making an argument, that's all, but here's the residence, and I think it's a stretch, but.
And to Mr. McCaffrey's point earlier, we don't have testimony from the person to give us any further insight on this.
You're right. Okay.
What, following up on your point, and I was wondering what happens with shelters? Temporary
Yeah, I think
housing shelters, women's shelters.
Well, that's the.
there's a carve out
homeless-
for
there's
that.
carve-out.
Yeah.
Come down here and vote. Yeah. They can, yeah. I'm sure Tony-
thought there was a-
better than me.
There was a NOAC case that actually dealt with homeless, that they are given some special, not exemption, but I think they're treated specially if they are homeless, they're not to be disenfranchised simply because they're homeless, and I can't recall the particulars of the case, but. So, but there's provision made for homeless voters. Do we know offhand what those are? I just can't recall.
I know it's the whole NEOC.
Yeah.
That.
And they can give, as long as they provide an intersection of an actual location and they register at the corner of Right, that's sufficient, but they do have to specify a particular location, they can't just say, yeah, I'm homeless in general, like you have to actually, so this way they get a ballot associated with that intersection.
And so to bring it back to the issue at hand, we do have Mr. Weeks' insight from this. Does the board have any more deliberation on the case of Clinton Lyons?
No, other than to say Carlos Portland. It was next on the list, similar circumstance, other than he is actually inactive. Would it be appropriate to handle them both together? Or you want
No, we'll take the individuals. So
Okay.
we're dealing with Lyons right now. So the chair entertain a motion for Mr. Lyons.
I would move to uphold the challenge of the right to vote and voter residency of Quentin William Lyons. And would move also to have his registration canceled. He should also be notified of, as all of them should be notified of the cancellation of the registration and the reasons why.
Okay, the
I think
motion's
so.
Before us, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sticken. Any other unreadiness? All in favor, aye? Aye, the ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you. Mr. Wheat, Carlos Reyes Portola.
You should have before you a Form 257, a challenge of the right to vote and correction of registration list that was submitted by Mr. Mikhail Alterman on July 10th, 2023. Mr. Alterman, a registered voter in Cuyahoga County, is challenging the voter residency of Mr. Carlos Reyes Portola. Mr. Alterman in his challenge stated that Mr. Reyes Portola is registered at a commercial building. More specifically, the residence inn by Marriott. Mr. Reyes Portola is currently registered at 3628 Park East Drive in Beechwood, Ohio. The voter registration database shows that Mr. Reyes Portola has been registered at the 3628 Park East Drive address since October 5th, 2015. The voter registration database also shows that Mr. Reyes Portola has voted a total of 3 times from this address, with the last time being in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential general election. Mr. Reyes Portola has been eligible to vote from this address a total of 15 times since the November 3rd, 2015 general election. Mr. Reyes Portola did not vote in the August 8th, 2023 special election. Upon consultation with the CCPOE's Senior Geographic Information Systems Technician, it is determined that 3628 Park East Drive is indeed the residence inn by Marriott.
I have a question in the write-up. Why are we saying if we are of the view that the residence inn is a commercial address? Why are we then saying that he's been eligible to vote from this address? A total of 15 times. Has he voted from that? I mean, you're saying he voted 3 times, but if you're determining this address is a commercial address and it's impermissible for him to vote from there, why are we then saying he has been eligible to vote from this address?
But the registration card on file has an address for Park East, and he's been at that address since 2015. But his first vote occurred during that time. And then the last vote occurred at that same address in 2020.
So maybe it's a language issue, it's, but if we're making a determination that he's not eligible because this address is a commercial property. I'm just concerned that we have language that says somebody's eligible to vote from a commercial address, so I would just suggest we change the language there. I mean, he may be eligible, he's been registered to vote from that address, over 15 elections or something like that, but he wouldn't be eligible to vote from that address if we're making the determination that it's impermissible for him to vote from that address. So maybe we need some change, just to change. I don't know if that's in the other, I just picked that up. I don't know if that's in the Brianna case.
Yeah.
It's just a semantic issue, but I mean, it doesn't make sense if we're saying it's a commercial address and to say somebody's eligible to vote from that address. If that's our position.
And I guess just the bigger picture was initially when these addresses came into DIMS, they were kind of dropped in. And, you know, as new addresses come up, the GIS system goes through and does more analysis. So this was more of just an address that was in the system that wasn't at that time identified as being commercial. And sometimes when somebody brings it forward, who's familiar with the area, then we're able to look at it closer and make that determination.
Right, but I think to this point, really like the sentence, for example, should say, since registering at the residence in 15 elections have been conducted.
Yeah.
Well, should be participated if it's registered.
Yeah, and so maybe, yeah, so maybe for all of these challenges, I don't know, do we have that for
They probably.
other twos? No, I don't think we had it for Quentin Lyon. And yeah, and then I don't think we've got it for the first one.
We're gonna see that in the next one, the word eligible.
Yeah, so I mean, for purposes of correcting the record in the docket, you know, we just want to make clear that. If our determination is that these addresses are commercial properties, as identified by the challenger. And there would be no eligibility to vote from a commercial address.
Yeah.
So, you know, that could be a global correction for the record to that language if it appears somewhere else.
Yeah.
I do have a question, this Tony brings up a good point. And that's great, we have challengers that figure this stuff out. But is there some way that we can flag commercial properties in our own system that?
Probably should have gone a little further. We do,
Oh.
from time to time, John Eddie will run certain searches for maybe new mailboxes, et cetera, that have been opened or something like that. So we do periodically do, I'll tell you, score.
We have a lot of commercial properties in our system, but it's a
Okay.
big county, and I'll tell you right now, not every single one is in there. Because it's not on a range that is, there, no one's ever been registered there. So when someone new now comes and we try and we see, well, that's not in our range, then we do that research in the market. So I would say though, a lot of the county is marked as commercial. We do on a regular basis, and it's not even speaking to it. We get people, not a ton, but they will try and we'll see it. It's a street exception. We review and go, nope, can't do it because it is whatever commercial property.
So we catch a lot of these ourselves,
Yes.
Okay.
Good question.
Period.
Yeah, no.
Any other discussion on Mr. Portalati?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, I would move to uphold the voter residency challenge and which is also a challenge of the right to vote of Mr. Carlos Reyes Portalatin, and that his registration at this address be canceled and that he be so notified.
Okay, the motion is in order. Is there a second?
Do we want to also refer him though, because he did vote 3 times, that's, you know, kind of our, at this address.
I'll second the motion for the purpose of discussion.
Let's see, it says the voter registration database, he's never voted at this address. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong guy.
It's
Sorry.
mine, it's never.
I'm sorry, is that my,
Tab 4.
sorry,
Yeah, I think 3 times at this address. So,
oh, I see that.
I mean, and that could be something that probably they should investigate versus, you know.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah, so yes.
Yeah.
Friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment that, yeah, it would, that this ought to be referred to the Secretary of State Integrity Office.
And that is in order. It's been seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It's ordered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Weeks.
You should have before you Form 257, challenge of the right to vote and correction of registration list that was submitted by Mr. Mikhail Alterman on July 10th, 2023. Mr. Alterman, a registered voter in Cuyahoga County, is challenging a voter residency on Mr. Gerald Zoller. Mr. Alterman noted in his challenge that Mr. Zoller is registered to vote at a commercial office building. Mr. Zoller is currently registered at 3401 Enterprise Alley in Beechwood, Ohio. The voter registration database shows that Mr. Zoller has been registered at 3401 Enterprise Alley since October 20th, 2020. Voter registration database also shows that Mr. Bell has never voted at the 3401 Enterprise Alley address in Beechwood. Mr. Zoll did not vote in the August 8th, 2023 special election. Upon consultation with the CCBOE's Senior Geographic Information Systems Technician, it is determined that 3401 Enterprise Alley is a space known as Enterprise Place, and it is a Class A commercial office space.
Thank you, Mr. Weed. That would note for the record, for Ms. Chappelle, she registered to vote in 7 elections since November 3rd, 2020.
Yeah.
Eligible, he was registered. to vote.
But would be ineligible because he's registered at a commercial location. Yes, thank you, Mr.
Right.
With your permission, I'll go ahead and move that we uphold the challenge filed by Mr. Alterman of the right to vote and of the residency of Mr. Zoller. We uphold the challenge, we cancel his registration and send him notice of the same. And since he has never voted at this address, there'd be no need to refer him to the integrity office.
Okay, the motion is properly before us. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sticken. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you.
The dumb question.
Mr.
We get these letters, I assume we reach out to these poor people about this.
We mailed it to the registration address on file, and that's where we would send these next notices. And,
And when we send to the Secretary of State, here's where you can find these people.
yeah, exactly. So we'll do that, and
I'm
hopefully,
sorry,
we'll send it by forwardable mail, and maybe it makes it to wherever they actually do reside. But yeah,
Just to
but that is, it's kind of like, that's where we send it to notice in the sheriff show. That's what will give them the
do we have a duty to find
deposition
it?
or disposition of this, so.
Do we have to find it? Do we have to go beyond that?
I don't think so.
I think the ones that we get referred from the Secretary of State office will try to,
They'll probably try.
see if they can track it.
Occurred to me,
Yeah,
Well, it's good to know for record, they were notified, the addresses provided to them.
Last known address, even though it's a commercial address.
Good. Okay, Mr. Weed, we will now move on to provisional report. Okay, thank you.
so just to interrupt,
Okay.
what I'm wondering is. Based on before Hassani gets his report, should there be a standalone discussion, potential motion on the specific envelope of Brianna Alexander? And then if we determine the status, valid or invalid on that, then Hassani, his presentation would incorporate that, or is there?
Is that what this reflects, that her registration's been,
Yes, this version, this shows, this would assume with her it being a invalid provisional.
okay. And where is her reason for rejection would be,
Hers would be not, it would actually be, I think, not registered.
okay, so she's included in the 452 number?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need a motion to reject her ballot.
I think it might
Separately,
make it cleaner.
Okay.
Maybe if we did that first before he went into the whole body of it, I think.
okay, it's fine with me.
Sure, so I would move to reject the provisional ballot cast by Ms. Alexander in the August 8th special election.
Yes, or reject or
Based on
determined invalid
determine the ballot to be invalid,
for not being
so
registered.
not being registered.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Properly before us, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, is so ordered. Mr. Weed.
In front of you, you have the August 8th, 2023 special election provisional verification summary. A total of 4,449 provisional ballots were cast during the August 8th, 2023 special election. All 4,449 provisional ballots were cast in accordance with Chapter 8 provisional voting of the Ohio Secretary of State's election manual, also known as the record 2022. Well, the record 2023-03 of Bill 58 before by 134 General Assembly. Directive 2023-13, August 8th, 2023, special election canvass instructions, and a mandatory step-by-step process for examining provisional ballots, all of which were issued by the Ohio Secretary of State's office. Of the 4,449 provisional ballots, 3,664 were confirmed to be valid provisional ballots, and 785 were rejected for various reasons. Of the 3,606 valid provisional ballots, 58 of those were cast in the wrong precinct, correct location, that are remade, eligible to be remade. There were 524 incoming out-of-county provisional voters that did not vote in their previous county, and 612 outgoing provisional voters who moved to a new county in Ohio who did not vote in Cuyahoga County. Additionally, during double voter research, there were no voters that were found. Before we get to the recommendation, I would like to briefly refer to the provisional reason summary, which provides a high-level overview of why voters may have voted provisionally. That's the pie chart. Of note, the two highest percentage categories of voters voting provisionally are address change at 38.2% and AV requested at 21.8%. Please note that we do make some assumptions as to the reason why a voter voted provisionally, and it should be noted that some of the voters have multiple reasons. However, they will appear in only one category and will be pushed to the Z other category.
Just a quick question, just a reminder on what's AV.
That's not absentee.
Oh, active, okay. That requested, okay. Thank you.
Additionally, we have one SOS form 12-0 affidavit of religious objection that was used. The information was sent to the SOS office on Saturday, and a courtesy email was followed up. The SOS determined that the BMV did not issue an unexpired photo ID, and the one form 12-0 affidavit of religious objection was deemed valid.
Where did that fall on this pie chart? Is that the other? I don't know, where is that?
That is not on the.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is just information for us,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
but that would fall into like kind of that.
The other-
It's a unique thing.
yeah, okay.
SOS form 12D, provisional voter precinct verification forms that were used. This is used when the provisional voter appears in the correct polling location and insists on casting a provisional ballot in the wrong precinct. There were 15 voters that came in during the SOS mandated 4-day provisional cure period after the election. Of the 15 voters, 5 voters cured their provisional ballot by providing a form of ID, ballot ID. The other 10 voters already had ballot ID noted on their provisional ballot, therefore no further action was taken. The registration department is recommending that 3,664 provisional ballots from the August 8th, 2023 special election be approved for opening and tabulating.
Here's just a comment. That additional information is really important and helpful. Could we just include that somewhere on your report about the number of voters that come into cure? And, a lot of that, we don't need the extra detail about, the occasional religious objection necessarily in the report. But I think the issue around curing and, the voters that are coming in to cure their ballots should be included in the report. I'm a visual learner, so if we could see that in your report in the future, that would just be helpful to me if my colleagues don't object at all.
That's
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, here, I will move, the 3,664 division ballots and authorize to have those ballots come from the August 8th, 2023 special election.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it, it is so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Now move on to ballot. I will move the final approval of the ballot order for the September 12th, 2023 primary election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle, meeting on readiness. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. I will move the preliminary approval of the ballot order for the November 7th, 2023 general election.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle, meeting on readiness. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. If the candidate in petition services, I move the following acknowledgements from and appointments to elected office. On the resignation from elected office, Aaron Bell, Richmond Heights Board of Education Board Member, and appointment to elected office, Richard Ritchie, Maple Heights Board of Education Board Member.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. I will move the acknowledgement of candidates and issues withdrawn from the November 7th, 2023 general election. For the record, all these individuals are nonpartisan. Brook Park member of council, Ward 3, Susan Adams. Cleveland Heights, University Heights, City School District Board Member, Beverly R. Wright. Euclid member of council, Ward 3, Amelia Augustine. Garfield Heights City School District Board Member, Tandika Cox. Garfield Heights City School District Board Member Cheryl Pritchard. Highland Hills Member of Council James McManus. Highland Hills Member of Council Tracy Oglesby. Independence Local School District Board Member Matthew Urey. North Royalton Council President Jeremy Dietrich. North Royalton Member of Council Ward 6 Michael Wose. And Orange City School District Board Member Valerie Klein. And the issues withdrawn from the November 7th 2023 general election, local liquor option, Cleveland Ward 5 Precinct H, local liquor option, East Cleveland Ward 2 Precinct A, and local liquor option, East Cleveland Ward 2, again, Precinct A.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. Any in readiness? All in favor, aye? Aye, the ayes have it. Election support. I will move the preliminary authorization for the allocation of voting booths for the November 7th, 2023 general election. 4,941 voting booths, 706 clear cast go scanners, 291 ADA clear access voting units, and 1,074 electronic poll books.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Now, the human resources, I move the approval of our personnel agenda. The resignation of Stephen Anderson from election official 2 in the registration department, effective August 26, 2023.
Second.
Second by Ms. Chappelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. It is so ordered. Director Perlotti, new business, please.
We're gonna start off with just a brief update on the September 12th primary election. This past Monday was the post registration for this election, and yesterday, 15th was the opening of the absentee. We had 90 people ballots that we put into the end, and we actually had one person come vote early in person yesterday for this election. We will be conducting early in-person voting on the second floor. We won't be downstairs in the big room, as we do not anticipate large volumes of individuals coming to vote early in person for this particular election. We will be staffing this the poll workers for this election. How we'll staff it will be a combination of our trainers and training assistants. So they will run that and be able to get some additional hands-on observations, which will just make them stronger trainers going forward. So as far as September 12th is concerned, all things are on schedule, moving ahead as it should be. The other thing I just wanted to quickly hit on, so are there any questions on September 12th? All right. Just kind of wanted to give got a lot of meetings. And so we give a precursor for next Monday, the 21st. That is the deadline, for statutory deadline for us to certify candidates for the November ballot. So that's what the main crux of that meeting will be the certification of candidates. However, as we all know, we have a lot of charters. So there are 3 communities that have a filing deadline that falls on August 24th. So we'll certify those later. That is South Euclid, Middleburg Heights, and Chagrin Falls Village. So outside of that, all the other candidacies will be certified on Monday. Brent and Corey are working with candidates on those who have insufficient petitions to see if they want to withdraw or not, and have as much as that squared away going into Monday's meeting as possible. As we have seen, not everyone will do that, and then they will make a recommendation that to not certify someone to the ballot. So that's what we would see on Monday. Additionally, we have I think 7 individuals who came to our attention last Friday. So after the final deadline, that a candidate through the representative was going to protest the candidate based on something with the nominating petition part of the form and it being incomplete. They provided us with a 2019 ruling of the Ohio Supreme Court, to which we got that, presented it to Mark on Monday. Mark got back to us yesterday, and in fact, that Supreme Court case is relevant. So in fact, 7 individuals, Brent and Corey reached out to them yesterday by phone and by email to make them aware that they're based on this ruling, we won't be recommending to you next Monday for them to have valid candidacies. As understood, some of these individuals are not pleased with that, but it's a piece of case law that we had not been aware of previously, that now is in our possession. Additionally, the 25th of August is the candidate protest deadline. So depending on how the board decides to go on that, there is an opportunity for some final protest on that candidacy and be back with us again to review. So I want to give you that heads up.
Is Mr. Jason Hubble included in that number? So I just
Yes.
happened to see he sent, and maybe he sent this to everybody. I received an email from him
He did.
about this issue. I guess the question I have, based on what the issues he's raising, because apparently he filed his petition back early in July. And his concern is it was marked on the website as valid. I'd like to have a legal opinion or some understanding. I'm happy to see the 2019 case, but
Yeah.
what right do voters have to rely on our website? Is it reasonable reliance? I mean, we just need to understand. I mean, if voters or candidates are relying on our pre-check process or, our process, and we're saying on the website, they go to the website to check and they see that, there's a valid indicator. I mean, it's a voter, that's gonna signal to them that, okay, my documents are in order and I'm good to run. I feel a little uncomfortable, for somebody in this position who filed early, and for the others as well. I mean, but this guy in particular, this gentleman appears to have sent his stuff in really early and is relying on, you said on your website, my documents were valid. Obviously, we are obligated to follow the law. So, I mean, I don't have any issue with us following the law, but and we are required to do that. But I'd be curious to know, because we have oftentimes people, voters or others saying, oh, the board told me to do this. And there's not always, eager to say the board erred or a poll worker told me, whatever the situation. What right is there to rely on our website? And maybe we should be putting some disclaimer on the website. I mean, it's just disconcerting if somebody sees, yes, is valid. My documents are good to run for office because my documents are in order. And you know, I got a little bit of a concern about why we don't know that we're supposed to be doing something that we didn't do. I mean, you know, and there's a 2019 case that says we should be doing X and Y, and we haven't been doing it. I mean, we're not, there's lots of cases, we can't follow everything, nobody's perfect, I get that, but we don't want to harm the voters or there to be prejudice to the voters. And so the other question I would have for the legal opinion is what discretion, if any, we have to make an exception to, because we've never implemented this particular piece of, you know, or requirement on the petition. Maybe we have none because the law is the law. I don't know, but I want to be able to say in good faith to the candidate and the voters, hey, our bad on this, but the law is the law. I feel really badly in the case of this guy and all of them, you know, if, you know, all of a sudden we realize, oh, we have to do this and we haven't done it, you know, and we're undoing, you know, it's just, what right do they, so my questions are, what right do they have to rely on the board's representations around your petitions are valid, your whatever, your pre-check has been completed satisfactorily. If they can't rely on it, we need to put a disclaimer or something on the website.
Well, I would go a step further too, because if a candidate were to call, I'm sure the department would say, hey, we have you marked as valid. You know, obviously nothing's official until we vote on it to approve the ballot. So candidates can always be challenged, but you know, if this candidate would have called the department, I'm sure they would have said, we indicate, you know, we looked at your petition, good.
Yeah.
So that's even beyond, because the website display as well, so, and I agree too, there's 2019 case, I think like, and if this impactful, and, you know, we probably, there should, maybe something we should talk to the Secretary of State's office about, maybe putting a directive out, maybe seeking their advice on this, but I would also add, when someone's filing so early and they think they're okay, and they go out and do their campaign, I would distinguish that from someone who maybe filed the day of or is being challenged. I don't know, it's not definitely to think about, so.
In this particular case, I'm not suggesting necessarily different than everybody else, but if he has no notice that his documentation is invalid, he doesn't have the right to cure the situation and to go back out and correct his petition. So I mean, I don't know what we would have if there was, maybe this is a Secretary of State question, you know, given the fact that all these 7 people are in the same boat, pretty much. We have discretion to say, hey, that's just, we haven't been requiring, I mean, why should they be disadvantaged or prejudiced? We have never enforced this for anybody else up to now. Maybe there's a way that we could allow them to move forward if we have that discretion, and then on a going forward basis, we make very clear this is the way we'll be treating, you know, these petitions and this requirement for that 2019 case. I don't know, it's just a certain inherent unfairness in my view, because we've never enforced this particular requirement before. I get it, I'm a lawyer, I'm not advocating where we do something that's unlawful, but I just think here there's maybe some equitable argument that, you know, somehow these folks should be exempted for this particular election, and then on a going forward basis, we're very clear this is the requirement, this has to be included. And you know, and then we put the disclaimers up if people really can't rely on the website information, and if maybe we have that information already, does it say that in the law somewhere? Or on, I mean, I don't think it says that on the website. Yeah.
I don't think the law requires what we say on the website, but it's the candidate's obligations to know what's required to file a nominating petition. Go ahead.
I was saying, in the past, we have talked to the Secretary of State's office, and they have suggested you should really don't put any information on the website. And so then they don't, because they said nothing is official until you certify it. But then what happens is we've done it for years and years, because then you get hammered with so many phone calls, you try to put it out there. But again, this is something where even he filed it early. This last Friday after the filing deadline was when it came to our attention. So, I mean, that is something where we could even change, and we could say filed, yes, processed, yes, but not give a status of what it is.
I think we need some sort of disclaimer, you know, or, you know, filed meets, yeah, I don't think we need not provide the information because there would be an onslaught.
Well,
And that's been our practice and that candidates find that helpful. But we gotta have some sort of disclaimer if we are reserving the right, as we should, that you really are not formally approved and there's no valid anything until.
Would there be any merit of having even a link that takes them to the information, it's our responsibility. It takes you to
There's a problem now, the petitions are not, are we, and they're invalid, they give time to write. So if we're not sort of indicating either way, you're gonna have problems with people then, so that's to consider. Also, we are doing our saying this valid, this valid deadlines are so late to the beginning of the year. So people do rely on it to say, okay, I'm good, and then they go out and work alongside. But I guess maybe the understanding is someone could challenge you up until certain date. I mean, maybe there has to be,
Yeah.
to your point, communication on that end of it. Nothing's official until you're certified to the ballot. I don't know. It's, I feel both ways on that, so.
What are the defects?
The nominating petition was blank. There's in the form that the Secretary of State prescribes for nonpartisan municipal elections over 2,000 people. There's a declaration of candidacy at
Yeah.
the top, and then the nominating petition at the bottom, which is where the people sign directly.
Paragraph where it says people, okay, is that the paragraph above the signatures?
Right.
Okay.
And so the law requires you to seek that office through nominating petition. So that shall be through nominating petition, so the strict compliance with the nominating petition. The Secretary of State then prescribes the form for that nominating petition, which includes the declaration of candidacy and the nominating petition. The Supreme Court said substantial compliance with the form requires you to complete that nominating petition to strictly comply with the what initiates your effort to seek office. And substantial compliance with the form requires your name and the office you're seeking.
So,
Strictly comply, it's kind of convoluted between strict compliance with the form, I'm sorry, strict compliance with the nominating petition, substantial compliance with the form.
We're gonna get this case before our next Monday meeting, right? 'Cause I'd
Sure,
like to
yeah.
See it.
and an opinion from you on these other questions. if you
Yeah,
could.
I think the law is clear, there's no reliance on what the board's saying, there's.
On the
no
website.
cases, Yeah, candidates reliance on misinformation,
what's
the board
the-
employee does not stop the board from using candidates.
Wait, read that again, please, since we're on the record.
This-
Our poor court reporters.
Yeah.
Plus I'm slow, so I want to hear.
This is from the OEM and it's not a direct quote from the case, but State Ex Rel McMillan versus Ashtabula County Board of Elections, 65 Ohio State 3rd, 186. Candidates' reliance on misinformation from the board employee does not stop the board from removing the candidate's name from the ballot. There's another case from 91, State Ex Rel Shaw versus Lynch. Estoppel does not apply to elected officials in the exercise of government functions. State Ex Rel Sean versus Cuyahoga County Board of Elections, 1977 case. Candidate could not file a necessary petition after having filed other petition papers. That's the
That's
cure
right.
is the recirculating petitions. You can't pull your petitions back after they're filed, so you have to
Oh, so there's no cure period.
file.
Oh, so he wouldn't have even been able to cure.
He'd go recirculate.
He'd have to withdraw.
Well, yeah.
Oh, but there's.
That's the process.
Okay, yeah,
with
I was gonna say, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, there
really
is.
harsh.
So that
It's hard.
opinion is more or less just saying you can't go back to your old petitions and just add to them, that you have to
Right.
withdraw and fully start over.
Okay.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I think,
Makes sense.
65 state Ex Rel Select versus Board of Elections, Sherwood County, 1965. Advice by Board of Elections Deputy Clerk that nominating petition appear to be in order does not stop the Board of Elections from declaring such petitions to be invalid.
Oh, that's right on point.
And I think since the case law saying, here's what's required to fulfill the requirements for appearing on the ballot. I'm not satisfied. I don't know how much discretion the board has
No,
to deviate
doesn't
from
sound like
the
it.
law.
Yeah, and I do-
What's, I'm sorry, just one other question on the case law. Is the 2019 case wasn't again, what county was that? That's not against Cuyahoga County Board of Elections.
Did you say Ashby?
Oh, I'm sorry, the one that was.
The one that was cited, brought
The
towards.
2019 one, the curse, yeah.
So.
We'll just wipe our words for that. Brent's had an appointment today, but I think everyone told me that he had gotten guidance from the previous legal counsel to the board on something like this before, and it was set, and I think at that time it was not the circumstance that this case had shown.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2019.
Right now,
Oh, yeah, we're following.
we were following.
Okay, well, that's good to know. We're just not making it up as we go along.
No,
There.
Oh, yeah, I'm just curious, you're gonna send it to us, I just want, it's
Yeah.
not our county, it was not a case against our county board of elections.
Customer hours.
Okay,
Oh, it's difficult not to err on the side of the United States.
yeah, I mean, that's the only, we,
Or folders in most
Yeah.
regards.
we've taken the position in the past, and I think it, obviously not when it's contrary to law, but the goal is always to not keep people off the ballot. And your heart goes out because these people have, especially this person, but all of them, they've invested time, energy and effort. To, circulate to Lisa's point, some have, bought signs and done the thing. But if we clearly have to, it's strict compliance under the law, then I don't know that we have any choice, but I'd like to see a legal opinion with all that great case law that you've identified.
And just also I guess, what is our discretion? Because ultimately we do get to approve what's on, and I know in past hearings from even Chairman Hastings would always say, we have some discretion here. And I guess the question is, what discretion do we have in this situation?
Well, the OEM says that the nominating petitions is a question of substantial compliance for the board to determine in consultation with the prosecutor's office.
Well, that.
So they don't cite the 19 case in the OEM, but I give you a legal opinion on it.
It's interesting, but if we have to, I'm curious to see what your opinion is, because, it just.
And
We have no discretion, but if we can weigh the equities of it, it's really harsh to keep people off the ballot, especially when we screwed up, basically, we have not been following since 2019, what's required. I'm just saying, but there's three sides to the story on this one.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to that information too.
Anything else on your new business?
so I just wanted, so that's what, the majority of next Monday's meeting will be. Also, we should be presenting, we'll get this out to you hopefully today or tomorrow, not the board packet, but we are updating our ballot remake and adjudication policy based on Clear Ballot now. So Brian is working with your teams to get that sorted. We'll have that also at that meeting. And then we get the candidate protests, because we are getting protests, and we would not do that at Monday's meeting, but that would be the 29th meeting that we would go ahead and we would notice candidates of the protests and have everything put together to have that on the 29th. So that's just kind
The
of
29th, yeah, I just want to give a heads up. I know we start at 9:30. I am gonna have limited time at that meeting. I'm gonna have to check out of here no later than 11:30. So I'm hoping, but you guys, I'll be here for part of the meeting if it continues on. I have to leave by 11:30.
The
29th.
The
29th.
Okay. All right,
And also a heads up for me, I will be missing next Monday's meeting.
the 21st.
The 21st, but I know Joe's.
I'll be here.
Definitely gotta be both.
Yeah, we'll have a long-
Apologize before for that.
Thank you.
It's special elections.
Okay, anything else?
No, unless there's questions, that's just.
No, it's good. Thank you.
I have just a
Yes.
comment. Want to just acknowledge, I'm thankful and appreciative that the CEO was there for our election. I know there were a few little snafus. But I assume we'll get a report out, Mr. Chair, about those once everything is, I know our staff did a yeoman's job as always.
Yeah.
But there were just a couple of wrinkles, which we expect with the rollout of new equipment, but we'll get some summary about how that ended up in any resolution that we might be looking for.
Right, we're not there yet, but
Okay.
yes, that will be forthcoming.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, I do have two requests for public comment, so the chair will recognize Tony Walker. If Mr. Walker is present, sir, if you would please come to the podium. State and spell your name and your address for the record, and we wish to the board, you will have up to 5 minutes to speak, and the floor, sir, is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Tony Walker. And Mr. Chair, I'm in the board, the staff, good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chair, you run a very efficient and tight ship. Much appreciated. I'm here today to address the board because I am one of the 7 individuals that you just discussed. And I can tell you that I appreciate it very much, the thoughtful deliberation that I heard. It gives me hope that there is an opportunity for a better and equitable solution to this dilemma. My name was one that appeared on the website, and I turned my petition in on August 4th. And it is indicated that it is valid. One of the things I heard is that if there were, Mike, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
One of the things that I heard during the discussion was whether or not there's an opportunity to cure that situation. And one thing that was discussed was to withdraw and to resubmit your petition. I was never given that opportunity. I could have easily withdrawn and recirculated the petition with all of the blanks filled in. But again, I found out that I was no longer listed as a candidate. I was actually looking back at the website to see whether or not a friend of mine had or petition had been validated, and came across the fact that my name or petition was no longer indicated as being valid. And so I contacted the Board of Elections to determine, what the heck was going on. At that point, I was told that there was this Supreme Court ruling that came to the attention of the board, and that because of that, my petition was deemed insufficient. I honestly believe that, given the fact that historically that has not been a requirement, or at least not one that was utilized here in Cuyahoga County, that it's difficult to now apply that standard to petitions that were turned in prior to the information coming to the Board of Elections. I did on yesterday reach out again to the Board of Elections to determine when this, to ascertain when this meeting would be held. And I appreciate the opportunity. I understand that the answers to my questions may not come today, but at the meeting on funding, but I appreciate the opportunity to address the board this morning. When I turned in my petitions, the staff here is the best in the world. I spent nearly an hour with one of your employees going through the checklist that is provided. The petition checklist prior to filing. Through each item, again, for almost an hour. I cannot, for the lack of me, understand how, if we spent that much time, and I understand the staff cannot give legal advice, but I don't see this really as being legal advice. I really see this being instruction and information provided on how to properly fill out the form that you provide to us. Okay. These are the things that are on the petition. And I'm not sure how much time I have left.
A minute.
Okay. Nothing in here on this checklist asks about nominating a petition. I'll leave it at that. This is the candidate petition rules also provided to the candidate by the board of elections. Showing the correct number of signatures is a fatal error and invalidates the part petition and all signatures contained therein.
Nowhere else does it say that there's anything that is a fatal error. And so if a blank nominating section on your petition is a fatal error, why is it not listed here? Because trust me, when I saw that, I made darn sure that that part of the petition was filled out. But why can't we not? Why is that not listed if the blank nominating petition is a fatal error? You do have an opportunity to address this issue according to Directive 2019-17 from the state of Secretary of State's office. It says to the board, the question of whether the board may certify a prospective candidate petition for the nominating petition portion of the form is incomplete is a substantial compliance decision for the Board of Elections to make.
Mr. Walker, now I've given you 6 minutes now, so I've got the directive there. We do thank you for your time here with the board, and I'm sure that we will be in conversation with you in the ensuing week.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the chair recognizes a request from public member Cynthia Beard. Ms. Beard present. Welcome, Ms. Beard. You may, for the record, state your name, spell it, and your address, and you will have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Beard. I am not involved in this situation. I came as an observer today, and I heard, I heard most of it. Wasn't able to hear everything that you all had to say about that last new business.
Can you spell your last name?
Beard is BEARD. I have a P.O. Box 201195. Jacob 40120. Phone number is 216-857-5. Time starts now, but it won't take 5 minutes.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. I originally wanted to hear a little bit more about what the Supreme Court case says on that matter. After I turned in, I think I heard more discussion about it. I'm not sure what blank that makes it a fatal error on that particular issue. But my question is, are the persons who submitted petitions that were deemed invalid, are they eligible as write-in candidates? And what are the requirements for write-in candidates? If that will affect that particular issue that you raised here today.
Okay.
Can they be write-in candidates, and what are the requirements for write-in candidates?
Public comment, you give us the comments. We don't respond back now, but our clerks do take that question, and then we will get that information back to you.
Okay, so my hope is that they could be eligible as write-in candidates, but that was the question.
Thank you, Mr. Beard.
So it's not clear for each office, depending on which one's at issue.
And then we can get a specific answer to that question. Yeah. Mr. McCaffrey.
These cases, I know we're kind of, this is outside of here. These were brought to our attention, these 7.
One Supreme Court case and one
Right.
petitions challenge,
It was-
not all of them.
Right, it was one, it was brought to our attention for one. And then having that, went and looked to see who, so
Okay.
all these individuals who were filing for.
Okay, that was actually where I was headed to.
Yeah.
If you treated all the candidate petitions for this election under the same. That basically was my, it's not just. These 7 were flagged by somebody, and there could be other people with the same positions.
No, it was-
What happened. Right.
Correct, it was one, and then staff went through
Gotcha.
and then identified going through that,
Okay.
it impacted 7 individuals.
That's good.
All right, we do not have executive session, and I will move that we go into recess.
Second.
Can properly move the second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Thank you. We will see you.